All right, let's get started. So thank you, everyone. Again, my name is Dhaval. I'm the product manager here with UGREEN, and I'm joined with Michael from Seagate. And hello, Michael. Good morning.
Hey, Deval, how's it going? Hey, everybody. As Deval mentioned, Michael Coolidge from Seagate Technologies, and I'm the Senior PMM for Edge Data Center and Device Products, and happy to co-present with Deval today.
Perfect. So as mentioned, welcome, everyone. And then today we'll be looking at scalable private cloud, especially for SMBs, even for consumer models as well. How to have a secured storage, effortless scaling, and unmatched control. So our goal is simple. By the end of this session, you'll know how to design a private cloud that scales with as you grow, without turning into an IT project that never ends. When I say private cloud, I mean your own storage plus collaboration plus backups, but you control it. It's in your office or in your home or wherever you decide. And today we'll also talk about the high capacity drives that Seagate just released, which is a 32 terabyte drive that just released. And we're actually compatible. All of our NASs are compatible with the 32 terabyte drives. So you can actually start large. And with the 8-bay unit, you can actually have up to 200 terabytes of capacity with RAID. So in real world scenario, fewer drives, cleaner planning, and easier growth. So let's start why SMBs are even thinking about this right now. Right. So most SMBs don't leave public cloud because it's bad. They leave because it's unpredictable. A lot of teams start with, we just need a place to share files, and then it becomes marketing assets, client deliverables, video files, security footage, backups, and suddenly the storage grows faster than anyone expects. When you start a new office, we actually started a new office here in Los Angeles. So now we initially had a file server, which was a small file server, which could replicate on cloud. But when we started installing IP cameras in our office, as well as we needed more storage for storing our videos, sharing videos across to multiple sessions, recording this particular webinar, hosting YouTube contents, the storage started to grow and cloud did not meet that requirement. Also, subscription costs as well, right? So as you keep adding more and more capacity or more and more data, you have to also add more and more capacity to your cloud storage, right? So paying that monthly fee gets really expensive. Even if you go to yearly plans, the rental fee for your own data gets really high as you grow. And again, with the NAS storage device, it's pay once and own forever. So that's why now we have a NAS that can do backups, that can do store video storage, security cameras, can share data to the clients, record this particular webinar, put this webinar on our YouTube channel, host all of that in one single device. So I can eliminate all of that and we just buy the hard drive. That's all we need to do. Again, as I mentioned, bill rises. So you're paying forever. So the cloud storage is not like you pay for a certain amount of time and that's it. You have to keep paying if you want to get access to your data. With Google, OneDrive, any of these services, if you stop paying, you have a month left to download all the data. Otherwise, it's gone forever. Sprawl. Files are in 5 places: email, personal drives, shared cloud, USB, random laptops. Control and speed. Large files and remote access get painful and permissions becomes messy. Private cloud flips that, so you get predictable costs, right? You have a one-time cost for the NAS and the hard drives, and that is it. Local speed. Everything is on your local network, so it's all extremely fast as well. And if people want to access your data, they can just access it via the Wi-Fi or via the physical cable. And it's going to be, you don't need to worry about your internet download and upload speed. As long as you have a good switch and good router, everything is on local access and full control. You create permissions for your user accounts. So you can create a marketing asset or marketing group or sales group and give them separate permissions. And you can enable remote access and collaboration as well. So if they're working from home or actually they're traveling, they can open the same file. Let's say sitting in the airport or in a hotel, they can actually access their own data and they can edit and re-upload them back to the NAS. So that is how easy it is. That is how easy it is to have your own private cloud. Again, here's a transparent starter example. A UGREEN NASync with 2 drives set up with redundancy. This is a part where I want to emphasize you're buying infrastructure, not renting storage. This is, again, a one-time cost. So the initial cost obviously is going to be more expensive than paying that monthly subscription fee. But again, you're going to see how, because it's you have to remember this 160997. This is a 2-bay NAS with 32 terabyte drives with redundancy, and that's just one-time cost. Cloud feels cheaper month to month, right? The bill is small from month to month, but you keep adding that over the years, over the few months and even years, that that bill can grow. But storage is long-term need. So the longer you keep the data, the more ownership matters, right? The longer you keep the data, the more expensive it gets. Also important, even if you start smaller drives today, this model scales the same way. The concept isn't buying 32 terabyte today. It's designed the system so the growth is easy. With UGREEN NAS, you can start small. Let's say, for example, in the same 2-bay system, you can actually start with 4 terabyte. And as you grow, you don't need to buy another NAS. You just replace the 4 terabyte with 8 terabyte. Now you have double the capacity. Or you can replace them with 2 directly to 20 terabyte. Now you have a 20 terabyte storage capacity. So again, you can start small and keep growing. On the other hand, you can actually start with, let's say, for example, we have an 8-bay system. A lot of customers start with 4-bay, and then as they grow, they keep adding hard drives as they grow. So you don't need to have the initial investment that high. You can keep growing as your data grows. Imagine you're storing client projects. If you keep the project for 2 to 3 years, you're paying cloud rental fee for old work forever. If you want to keep that client's data, you have to keep paying that cloud fee. It's a rental fee, remember that. So a NAS lets you keep that without the ongoing fee. Now let's compare what happens over time. So this is where private cloud usually wins the long game. With cloud, the bill grows with data size, number of users, and add-ons like versions, recovery, admin tools. With the NAS, the biggest cost is upfront, then it levels off. So if you're a small business, keeping data for 3 to 5 years, it's often very different financial story. Now, the most important part is scaling strategy. For example, in this chart, you can see the year 1 is almost double the cost already. Year 3 and year 5, you're going to keep paying that additional cost for that 32 terabyte. Now, remember, I'm comparing 32 terabyte cloud storage with 32 terabyte on-prem storage. You can see within the first year, you're going to recoup, and you're going to pay double that amount just to have the cloud storage for that 32 terabyte. Scaling doesn't mean overspending on day one. SMBs want a path that matches reality. So here's a simple approach. Start with 1 drive to get running quickly, so low upfront cost. Add a second drive for redundancy. As I mentioned, RAID 1 with redundancy, you can add the second drive. So the second drive is for redundancy, not for storage. And then that's a very common real-world deployment. You don't need perfection on day one. You just need to plan that gets you resilience. So once you add that second drive for redundancy, you can add the third drive now for storage. The 4th, 5th, 6th is all for storage. Think of it like an opening a new office. You don't buy every desk and chair for the next 5 years on day one, right? As employees grow, you start buying chairs and desks. So you start small and then you scale as you grow. That's exactly what the NAS is all about. Strategy 2, capacity upgrades. This is probably the most common scaling move, upgrade drives over time. A lot of our customers are actually looking into this factor. So instead of buying another NAS every time your data grows, they just upgrade the hard drives. And they can reuse the old hard drives for different purposes. Like they can have an older server, they can put the hard drives, they can start using that server only for backups. Now the new server is for capacity for your video editing, for your storage, or for your current needs, and the old hard drives, you can still reuse them. Upgrading to larger drive lets you keep the same NAS, keep the same users and workflow. So I didn't mention that. So as you with the capacity upgrade strategy, you don't need to you don't need to reconfigure the NAS. All your data, as well as all your settings and your information stays the same. You're just upgrading the capacity. And in the live demo, I'm going to show you how easy that is. Anyone here with like 4 to 8 terabyte drives today? If yes, you're exactly who the strategy is built for. When you grow, when you outgrow the base, you don't need to start over, right? If you outgrow 4 terabyte or 8 terabyte, you don't need to replace the NAS. Just buy a 16 terabyte drive or 20 terabyte drives. As Seagate keeps upgrading or keeps introducing newer capacity or larger capacity drives, the older capacity starts to get more cheaper. And now you have an affordable way to keep growing. Now, strategy 3, future-proofing. This is where we're growing fast scenario comes into play. If you're adding staff, more cameras, more video, more client work, base disappear quickly. Expansion is about protecting you from the painful moment where you're like, do we need to buy a whole new NAS and migrate everything? Let's say, for example, if you do buy the newest NAS today with the newest hard drive, like the 32 terabyte drives, now eventually you may use up that space as well. Now, what happens if the Seagate does not release a newer capacity drive? Then how do you expand? UGREEN have thought about that. We're actually coming up with an expansion bay, a 4-bay expansion bay that it can connect via USB port to your current NAS, and you can add 4 more bays to your existing unit. So you don't need to buy a whole new NAS for that. You can keep the same settings, you can keep the same storage, keep the same folders, and just expand the capacity. So with expansion, you add more bays and keep managing through one system. It's a very clean way to scale without the downtime and chaos. No downtime requirement. You just plug the cable, expand the storage, and that is it. Think you add 6 new cameras or hire 3 designers or video editors. Storage demands jumps overnight, right? You add 6 more cameras, that requires additional storage. Expansion means you're not scrambling. You just buy that expansion, add hard drives, and that is it. So why does 32 terabyte matter here? All right, Michael, you wanna explain about this one?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Deval. So yeah, at the core of every scalable private cloud is the need for high capacity, always on NAS storage, right? This is where IronWolf Pro 32 terabyte comes into play for sure. On January 14th, we launched IronWolf Pro 32 terabyte, and the reason being is we definitely saw a need within the small business space, there you go, within the small business space, and then also within the content creator verticals. Just the amount of data that's being generated, right? More or less in the small business vertical is all around, integration and use of these new AI applications, right? In order to move and run small business, a lot of data was being generated there. From a content creator front, it was the use of 4, 8, and possibly even like 12K cameras driving the need for a higher capacity, and this is exactly why we launched the IronWolf 32 terabyte drive itself. As Deval alluded to, around simplicity and cost structure around developing a private cloud. Obviously, with higher capacity, it's fewer drives, less upgrades, and less complexity overall, as far as upgrading to the 32 terabyte from existing capacities currently in use. And then ultimately, keeping the cost predictable. Again, as Deval alluded to in the setup cost for a private cloud, knowing the capacity you need and knowing the price it's going to cost is definitely a lot more predictable than renting space from cloud providers, which is in perpetuity, where IronWolf Pro is a one-time cost for the capacity you need. Just a little background on the drive itself. It's definitely designed to support those modern NAS, RAID, and emerging AI workloads, as I mentioned, all while keeping your data under control and reliable and access for you. Yeah, that's really it here. I mean, we're happy to present the world's largest drive for NAS performance.
Perfect. And as Michael said, with 32 terabyte capacity, as you can see the configuration on a even on a 2-bay system, on a small 2-bay system that sits next to your desk, you can get 80 terabyte of storage capacity. Remember now we have a 2 M.2 slots within that drive that has 2 8 terabyte NVMe drives. But with that, total capacity is 80 terabyte. Now, remember, these are raw capacity. Numbers will go quite a bit down when you start using it. But imagine the raw capacity with a 4-bay system that, again, sits next to your desk. It's 144 terabyte. 6-bay can give you 208 terabyte. And 8-bay can give you 272 terabyte. Imagine the amount of storage you can do with these small systems. And as I mentioned, as larger systems grow, the more capacity you can add. But even on the 8-bay system, now you can get about 250 terabyte of 272 terabyte of raw capacity with that 32 terabyte. So that 32 terabyte unlocks a huge amount of space in a small footprint. Right, and then with disaster or with ransomware, defenses or ransomware, snapshots are one of the most important private cloud features for SMBs because they give you a fast rollback. Now, public cloud does not guarantee you may not lose your data. It's always that risk, even with public cloud. I think there's always in the contract that they are not responsible if you lose any data in the public cloud as well. So if you think that public cloud is safe, it's actually not. If you look at your contract, they're not responsible of having a data loss because if the server got hacked or if something happened. So again, same with private cloud as well. With private cloud or with a NAS system, you have defenses against ransomware. You have defenses like snapshot, where the NAS will take snapshots of your data. So in case if something happens, you can go back in time and recover your data. So if ransomware encrypts files, the goal is not to rebuild everything. The goal is to restore back to yesterday or day before yesterday, week before yesterday. So a week before, quickly. Again, snapshot is a very quick way to restore the data a couple of days back or even a month back, depending upon how many snapshots you have. Snapshots works because they capture point-in-time state. They're efficient and they're one of the best way to reduce downtime. Okay. Now, not only for snapshot, there are other ways to also keep your data safe. A lot of data isn't hacking; it's actually human error. Wrong files are overwritten. Final version v7 is a final version. So you can rename the wrong file as well. Accidental deletion, even sometimes deletion on so somebody trying to sabotage your data. So it's also not just accidental deletion, but admins have a way to control this. Versioning gives you self-service way to recover. You can recover your data in case, even if you delete something accidentally, or you can overwrite something, or even if you corrupt the file. Now you can recover that data just by clicking on that older version of that particular file. Also, you can compare an older version with the current version. Now, for example, if an Excel file and you want to see what happened just a couple of days ago, and you want to compare that older version with the current version to see what changed happened, versioning can give you that control. And this can all happen within the NAS itself. There's always the hardware layer. Drive monitoring is basically your early warning detection. So not only with the versioning, with the hardware as well, these are drives as well. Over the time, maybe 5, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years down the line, the drive may start to fail. With Seagate as well as with the NAS itself, we keep the drive status in check. So if there's a drive that is about to fail, we will report that information to you so you can take the preventive action, replace the drive, and make sure that your RAID is back to ready to go. And with RAID protection, even if you lose a drive, your data is still safe depending upon which RAID you select, RAID 5 gives you 1 drive redundancy, RAID 6 gives you 2 drive redundancy. You can always recover data even if you have a hard drive failure without prevention, right? Michael, you want to add on for the higher?
Yeah. Just to add here, as we all know, one of the biggest advantages of a private cloud is control, right? So it's control over your data, and then you control your security. As Deval did mention, leveraging a private cloud, you're putting your data at risk, right? As we all know, the breaches are inevitable. I mean, they're going to happen. It just depends how prepared you are to minimize the damage. With private cloud approach, you definitely have that full-scale approach in order to do so. Specifically at the drive level, Iron Wolf offers a couple options to keep your data clean, reliable, and safe. One of those being Iron Wolf Health Management. So this monitors drive health and provides proactive alerts, everything around vibration tolerance to RAID stability. We also include a 3-year data recovery service. So if there's any catastrophe whatsoever, we do offer recovery support with up to 95% success rate. One other thing that I forgot to include here, Deval, is that we also offer for Iron Wolf, both Iron Wolf and Iron Wolf Pro, a Seagate warranty. So for Iron Wolf itself, it's a 3-year warranty, and for Iron Wolf Pro, there's a 5-year warranty on drive health itself. So definitely coupled with with the health management features and rescue recovery services we offer at the drive level, coupled with everything in which Deval mentioned, at the NAS level. I mean, your data is definitely secure within the private cloud element for sure. Thanks, Deval.
Perfect. No problem. Perfect. So with data recovery centers, again, Seagate is the only manufacturer that has the rescue services, and being in support for over 5 years before, we have definitely used this feature quite a bit. When customers have that issue, there's always that peace of mind that in case if a drive fails and data has been lost and we are unable to recover it, you can always send this to Seagate Recovery Services, and they can always try to recover your data. So
it's not just that reactive; it's a proactive approach too with health management, right? So we're definitely alerting you when there might be any issues or stability issues with the data you're currently storing, so you can definitely forego any instances at all.
Exactly, and then you have that peace of mind in the back as well. Yeah, even preventive as well as reactive is always available with these drives. All right, so now let's look at best practices for these models, right? Now, first always comes with that. I always want to include this slide to all of my webinars because that's how important it is. Having a 3-2-1 backup strategy, even if you have a private cloud or even like a NAS system, you always want to have a 3-2-1 backup strategy approach, having 3 copies of data in 2 different storage types and 1 offsite. Now that 1 offsite is really critical. Now, I'm from Los Angeles area, and same as Michael as well. We all heard about the Palisade fires that recently happened a couple of years. I think it's a couple of years before. Now, unfortunately, we do had some of our customers that they had NASs at their businesses, even at their home. Unfortunately, since everything burned down, there was no way to recover anything because it was just physical data, physical drive, or physical NAS residing at that location. So having that 1 offsite, having that 3-2-1 backup strategy and with that 1 offsite option, you'll always have 1 copy that can recover no matter what happens, even if it's a natural disaster or if it's a fire or if something happens. You have that 1 offsite copy to get to recover back. So your NAS is a main storage, protected storage. Of course, it's on site. You can use it whenever you are at your house or even remotely as well. You keep a second copy somewhere else, like an external hard drive or another NAS or even a cloud backup, at least for your most important data. And at least 1 copy is offsite. So a flood, fire, theft, even theft, we've seen that happen as well, doesn't take out everything. So not having one offsite always is really important as well. For me, for example, I take a lot of my like my family, my mom, dad, my wife, we all use the same NAS to upload all of their photos. Um, and we also have a bunch of other data like TV shows and movies and many music as well. But those are not that important as having a photo. So I at least have one NAS which is at least 50 miles apart, which is my sister's location. It's a small 2-bay NAS I've given her, and that that NAS holds my at least my photos that I've taken all like over the years. So at least that one offsite copy, so I have that peace of mind at least that even if something happens, that photos are at least there, backed up in another location. So that's really critical. If you have a small business with multiple locations, maybe having one NAS at each location backing up each other, that's also another option as well. Even a small office can do this with a NAS with an external drive rotation plus cloud archival for critical folders or another NAS at different location. Now, let's look at some real world use cases, right? For creators, storage isn't just space, it's workflow speed. The biggest productivity killer is copying huge files between machines and hard drives. A NAS becomes central project library. For example, without having a NAS or central storage, the way somebody gives a file to another editor is to copy that to an external SSD, physically give them that external SSD, needs to copy back that data into his computer, or they can work off of the SSD if the SSD is fast enough to edit that. But remember, the hassle is to give it to physically to another editor and then recopy them again. Again, that takes a lot of time and effort. With a NAS, again, it becomes a central project library, footage in one place. Everything uploads to the NAS. Project files are organized. You can organize with different years, or different client names, or whatever organization method you like. And easier collaboration. With faster network options, team can work more efficiently and reduce duplication. You don't need to physically give the data to another editor. You just let them know I'm finished with my editing. He just logs into the NAS and starts editing directly off the NAS itself. And they can edit directly on the main copy. With versioning and snapshots, even if they do the wrong edits, you can always recover back again. Again, the win is fewer copy steps, less lost time. Next use case is shared team storage. This is like a single source of truth story. One centralized storage system with controlled access with different permissions, shared folders for teams, like having having separate folders for marketing, for sales, again, private folders for HR and financing, so they can have their own folders with their own permissions. And each of the user you create on the NAS can have their own private folder as well. And remote access for hybrid teams that don't break workflow. So if you're remotely, or if you're traveling, or if you're working from home, you can always get access to your data because NAS is always online device. Instead of files being scattered across personal accounts, random links, everything becomes more consistent and more manageable, especially for admins. They can control where their data resides instead of having that data reside on their personal computer, which can be used to hack into, or a theft can steal that data computer and then get access to the data. Again, a private cloud can eliminate all of that. You have it on the NAS itself, and again, everything is on that one single location, so admin can control where the data is. Now, I forgot to mention about the previous slide. Now, you can see the capacity visualization with a 272 terabyte drive. You can see you can get about 261 hours of 4K ProRes resolution of about 422 high quality footage that you can store. So you can see the capacity visualization with a 32 terabyte drive. Sorry, I just forgot to mention that. Even with shared SIEM storage as well, you have zero monthly fee and unlimited user accounts for that particular storage. You're not limited to number of users or number of space. As long as you have a storage, you can create as many user accounts as you like. Next is serverless. Again, it's a huge industry for a NAS system. Serverless always requires, now companies are requiring more and more compliance, right? They need to make sure that your location has at least 6 months of data or 6 months of footage, or even years worth of footage. With NAS, we can achieve all of that. Surveillance is a steady, relentless data growth. Okay, it always keeps growing. You always, as more days you record, the more storage you require. So the questions always are, how long can we retain this footage? How many cameras can we support? How do we expand without redoing everything? Remember, surveillance cannot have, oh, I need to delete the old data now to start over, right? They need to keep that old data to keep it ready, or to make sure they can go back in time and see the footage. High capacity drives extend the retention time without consuming all the base immediately. That means fewer upgrades and cleaner retention plan. And that's the most important factor, right? You can start small and keep growing as you add more cameras or add more days. You can see, for example, the retention calculator for the 272 terabyte drives, or NAS on the left side. You can see 16 cameras. You can actually have about 11 months of recording. Imagine having 11 months of footage to go back and play back from. 32 cameras, 100, almost 6 months of storage. 48 cameras, about 4 months of storage, and 64 cameras, about 90 days of storage. So you can see the huge amount of storage capacity that you can get, and huge amount of retention days you can get just by adding higher capacity drives. And Seagate's Skyhawk AI drives are designed to be in that surveillance environment. Right, Michael?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So as you mentioned, security and surveillance workloads generate massive amounts of data, as we know. Based off a recent IDC report that Seagate commissioned on the growth of Gen AI, 75% of the respondents expect their video files, content to increase 2 times over the next 5 years. Surveillance, and to what Deval alluded to as compliance and legalities now in order to hold and store that data, video data, for compliance reasons. That longer retention rates is the reason that we now offer Skyhawk AI 32 terabyte drive. This was launched on January 14th, along with the Iron Wolf Pro 32 terabyte. Skyhawk AI drives retain obviously more footage, as you can see by the calculator, camera count and retention days that Deval has expressed. But it also supports AI analytics, definitely helps scale predictability. Again, going back to cost based off use case, understanding the capacity need and what you're getting from it. And then finally, it's really just obviously purpose built for private cloud. Again, full control over sensitive video data, offering capacities up to 32 terabyte, supporting up to 64 cameras as listed here, and 32 additional AI streams. You're guaranteed precision video storage. We offer image perfect AI. Delivers zero dropped frames rate, so you're always guaranteed reliable video content, no matter how long you store it.
Michael?
And yeah. Hello? Can everybody hear me?
Oh, I can hear now.
Oh, okay. Sorry, did I drop off?
I'm not sure if it was me or you, but you can continue.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Anyways, perfect drive for this use case for sure.
Right. And with surveillance out of the way, the use case that everybody knows is media streaming. Everything we covered so far is SMB focus, right? Business focus, file sharing, backups, ransomware protection, scaling. But what about a big home and prosumer use case where a private cloud is just as valuable as SMB, SMB as well? So media streaming is a huge factor when it comes to high capacity drives. This is for people who want to have one place to store and access their movies, TV shows, music, personal content without juggling USB drives or multiple subscriptions. The NAS becomes your own personal private media library that always is available on your network. depending upon your setup, accessible remotely as well. Picture a household or a creator with multiple devices, TVs, phones, tablets, laptop, and instead of copying files everywhere, the library lives in one single place. And once you understand that story, the next question becomes how much can I store and how fast can I scale it? That's what the next slide will answer that. This is a slide, but basically the capacity planning cheat sheet for media enthusiasts and prosumers. The point isn't that everyone needs the biggest system. It's that your storage scales based on two simple levers. How many bays can you choose and how large the drives are? So if you're a casual user, you can start smaller. If you're a more serious collector, photographer, videographer, or a home lab enthusiast, you can move up the lineup for more bays and higher total capacity. And this is where higher capacity drives like Seagate's 32 terabyte can make a huge difference because you get more total storage without filling the base as quickly. That means simple growth and less drive juggling over time. So you can see the same example as I gave before, 2 bay, 4 bay, 8 bay, but now if how many 4K videos can it store, how many music can it store, how many raw photos can it store. I'm pretty sure that, let's say for example, even on a 2 bay system with a 32 terabyte drive, you can store up to 3.2 million raw photos. Imagine the amount of photos you have to take to even fill that up. 2.6 million songs, high resolution also, with 4K video files, even on a 40 gig video files, up to 2,000 movies you can store on that 2 bay system. So even on a 2 bay system, you can store as almost unlimited amount of video storage. And go with 4 bay, 6 bay, 8 bay, just keep adding more and more capacity. So you can see how much capacity you can actually store and how much data you can store. You can visualize that on this particular slide.
Hey, Deval, do you mind going back one slide? Sorry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think here, as far as like media streaming itself is a trend that we're recognizing, at least maybe outside of the US a little bit more, in countries and places where streaming services aren't available, right? But definitely seeing that trend pick up within the Americas and US specifically. Again, relating to upfront costs, I heard you mention Deval. I don't know if it's noted here or not, but just removing all those different subscriptions and all that kind of good stuff, and having control over your own content for sure. So definitely a use case. I think small biz owners and even outside of that, everyday users. This is a strong one for NAS, 100%.
Exactly. With all the subscription fees, if you start buying your DVDs again or your music again, now you can keep it at your own location. You can stream it. You don't have the limit of how many devices. Right now, Netflix starts to adding that limit, right? So now if you have an office and you want to watch your Netflix, they will start calling you about like, oh, you cannot have it on a different network, or you're gonna have that more than 2 devices, or all these you don't have to worry about with a NAS system. It's unlimited TV, unlimited devices you can add, as again, also provided how much horsepower you have. But at least if you're just streaming one at a time, you can actually, doesn't matter where you're streaming from, you can keep adding. You can stream if you're traveling, like so I'm from India. If I travel to India, I can still stream my content directly from India. There's no restriction. There's no geo blocking, anything like that, unless I mention that. I can geo block on my NAS, but if I don't block it, I can access it from anywhere. You don't have to worry about who's watching your content, who's tracking you. It's all your own data, basically.
Yeah, for sure. You could forego leveraging VPN.
Exactly, too.
Yeah.
All right, and then so again, and with that, we'll just switch over to a couple of live demos I wanted to show you. With this, there's nothing much on, as I mentioned, it's just scalable storage, but I have some things I wanted to show you. First of all is the strategy that I was trying to mention, right? So the first strategy is you start small and you keep adding hard drives. So right now, for example, this is my 6-bay unit. I started 3 bays with RAID 5, and now I needed more capacity. So you can see I have three hard drives that has been used in the RAID format. You can see 1, 2, and 3. That's 7.2 terabyte. It's a 4 terabyte system on a single bay. So 3 4 terabyte drives. That gives me 7.2 with RAID 5, one drive for redundancy. Now I'm almost used up that 7 terabyte storage capacity. Now I need to add another drive. So I just add a 4th drive, just showing as unused because it's not added into that. All you have to do is you have to go to the storage app, click here, go to storage expansion, and you can see it's going to recommend add a hard drive. You can click on add hard drive. You can see adding hard drive to storage pool is most secure and convenient way to expand. The process does not affect the use of storage. You can keep using your data and you keep accessing your data. It's not going to stop doing that. Just click on expand, click on the hard drive you have, and that's it. Now you can see the new capacity is almost 11 terabyte of storage capacity because I just added another 4 terabyte drive. You can see estimated time it's going to take to expand. So remember, the more you use, it's gonna slow down the process. But again, if you don't use that, it's going to be much faster than this. But if you keep using, remember, and you can keep using a NAS as how it is right now with the added capacity. You just don't need to worry about not having to able to access your data. Once you start the process, it cannot be interrupted. Memory storage usage is not affected, so everything still keeps running. You just click apply, and that's it. It's going to start adding that 4 terabyte drive into your current RAID without having to reconfigure everything onto this device. So I'm not going to add it. I just don't want to start that process right now. But also, if you go to your overview, it's going to say one unused hard drive. You can click on manage. You can start adding that into your unit as well. So that's, as I mentioned, that's your strategy, right? Start small and you can keep adding drive as you go. Another strategy I wanted to show you is mentioned before. Let me see if I can get that NAS online first. All right. So sorry about that. The next demo I want to show you is you started with small drives. Now you have used up that drive and you want to upgrade to higher capacity drives. So now I'm going to show you a NAS which has I think has 2 terabyte drives to start with. Let me show you if I have that screenshot. Yep. So it's a screenshot of the device I had before. It had two 2 terabyte drives. With RAID 1 is going to give me 1.8 terabyte usable capacity. Now I used up that space, right? 2 terabytes is easy to fill up. So I used up that space. Now I need to expand it, right? So now if I go to storage right here, what I did already before this webinar is to upgrade both of my drives to 4 terabyte drives already. Now, if you haven't seen that process, all you have to do is you have to go to hard drive. Now, imagine these are 2 terabyte drives still. Now, you cannot do, this is a slower process, right? This is a time-consuming process, not just quick process, because, and especially if you have a 4-bay or even 8-bay system, this is a process where you need to have a lot of patience, because first you need to do is on your first hard drive, you need to disable that right here. Once you disable that, it's going to show you a warning that the storage pool is degraded. You physically replace that drive to a 4 terabyte drive and add it back in. And it's going to ask you to enable that, and it's going to add it back into the storage pool. Now, the storage pool will need to rebuild that. That's a few hour process. It could take about 12 hours to even a day sometimes for larger capacity. And then once you add that, now you have to do that for the second drive as well. And if you have 4, third, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8. You have to do that for all 8 bays if you have an 8-bay system. I only have 2 bays, so I replace one at a time. Once both my drives are upgraded to that high capacity and rebuilt properly, it's going to show you that the current storage pool can be expanded to 3.6 terabyte because you can see the new capacity drive that I've added. So all you have to do is you can click expand here, but I'm going to also show you here as well. Click on storage pool expansion. You can see replace drive as well. And then all you have to do is click on expand right here. And it's going to start expanding that. Now it's going to show you a higher amount of days initially because it's going to drop really quick as well. But now my storage capacity is to 3.6 terabyte capacity because it's just double that capacity because it's double the amount of, so not about amount of drive, but the storage capacity on each drive. So now it's 3.6 terabyte with the 4 terabyte drive. It's going to show you the current progress, but you can still keep using the NAS as is. Everything still keeps working, and that's it. I just haven't configured the NAS, but yeah. You can see right here, everything still keeps working. You can upload and download your data, no problem. Everything still keeps working. Once this is finished, you can have additional 2 terabyte capacity. So that's the second strategy that you can use. Last thing I wanted to show you is we actually have 32 terabyte drives with us. So let me show you that right here. So thanks to Michael, we are actually able to get 32 terabyte drives in our office. So if you actually have a 8-bay unit with 8 32 terabyte drives, you can see on the storage, I've configured them as RAID 5. And my total usable capacity is 203.6 terabyte. You can see my, so that's my storage capacity on my NAS right here. Because it's 32 terabyte, the actual usable capacity is 29.1 terabyte. So remember, 32 terabyte is, even with any hard drive, the usable capacity is always going to be smaller because the way it calculates the storage. But once you have that, you can see the usable capacity and one drive for redundancy. So you can actually store up to 7 hard drives. You can see you have now my storage capacity is 203.6. Now, if I use it for iSCSI, which is basically block storage for my computer, go to App Center. Actually, I have it installed. It's called SAN Manager. You can see I've created a 200 terabyte LUN, which I've added that onto my computer. So you can see it's iSCSI. It's on my computer. I've added that. So you can see I have a 200 terabyte disk, which is a local disk D that I can actually add, because again, LUN is basically a block storage that you can actually use on a computer. The computer thinks it's a physical hard drive that's plugged in, but it's basically a virtual block storage directly connected to the NAS. So you can see I can actually create a 200 terabyte iSCSI LUN, and I can actually have my computer can have 200 terabyte of usable capacity on that computer. Now, if I'm using my computer for video editing, or if I'm using my computer for AI data processing, you can actually add up to 200 terabytes worth of data on this unit, and I can start processing AI onto that. Because again, if you have the software installed on the computer, you can just point that data into that iSCSI, and now we can start processing all of that data. So and you can have that as well, or you can have it as a regular shared folder. You can create folders. Again, I haven't configured this unit, so it's going to show me this prompts. So I can actually create shared folders directly on that particular storage, and I actually have up to, you can see my volume capacity is 208 gigabytes, or about 203 terabytes of usable capacity. I can limit that to having smaller capacity. If I wanted to have, let's say, 150 terabytes of that folder, or just uncheck this. Now this folder is 200 terabytes worth of folder. Shared folder. You can now create multiple users for that folder. You can start storing all your data, remotely access that 200 terabytes worth of that data remotely as well. So all of that is all available with this capacity storage itself. Thank you everyone for joining our webinar. The winners will be announced shortly after the webinar ends and we start looking at the Q&A. We'll reach out to you personally. Hopefully you entered all your email addresses in that registration link, and we'll send out an email to you if you are the winner, and then we'll start shipping that drives out to you. And thank you, Michael, for hosting this or co-hosting this webinar with me on behalf of Seagate as well.
No problem. Thank you, Deval. I really appreciate it. And yeah, definitely here to support you in any way, for sure.
Perfect. And keep a lookout for our next month's webinar, which we'll be sending out invites soon as well. So hopefully see you next month. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.